Hello and welcome back everyone. In this video we're going to fly this inbuilt A320neo by Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 from Paris to Luton. A route I have flown numerous times, but not in this aircraft because I fly the 757 in real life. So this video is going to be a little bit of fun because I don't really know the Airbus that well. So I'm trying to figure it out, and let's see if we can make it all the way to Luton. Stick around and have fun with this video. And we're sitting here at the gate in Paris. I think it is Echo 30 for our gate, close to runway 26 right, which I expect where we're going to depart from. And the airplane currently is in cold and dark, so all the systems are depowered and all the electricity and everything is shut off. And we're gonna hop into the flight deck here in a bit and see if we can get it to run and program the FMC and take it all the way to Luton. Short little flight. Flight time most likely should be around 40 minutes. Plus or minus 10 minutes, depending on traffic and ATC vectors. But I guess 40-45 minutes is around average for this trip. All right. So here we are in the flight deck. As you can see, all the systems are depowered and the aircraft has no electricity. But we can see a available light for the external power. So if we hit that, we can see that all our instruments come to life. And here the Airbus has two battery switches, so I'm gonna hit them, put them to on. And like I said, I don't know much about the Airbus, just a little bit, and overall I guess it's a light out cockpit. I don't know any Airbus procedures, so we'll see how this is going to play out. So let's turn on the nav lights so that the ground crews are aware that we have powered the aircraft. And then we can start with our cockpit flows, get the flight plan ready, and get some fuel, and yeah, make the aircraft ready for our short little trip. Okay, so here on our EFB, I just hit the loading config, and here our L1 door is open as well as the rear one. And it should be loaded. The jetway doesn't want to connect for some kind of reason, but this shouldn't matter much. So we can see our flight plan, which I downloaded from SimBrief. So Paris, Luton, and the A320neo, and yeah, this is just a release date, and we can see that we're cruising at flight level 240. Estimated takeoff weight is around 61.7, and here you can see our maximum takeoff weight, which would be 79 tons, which is more than 30 tons less what the 7.5 can do. Yeah, and here you just glance over this and make sure that the estimated masses are not exceeding the maximum masses. And then I'm having a look at our fuel. So you can see here, this is basically the number I want to check. It is the block fuel, and this is what they calculated what we need here sitting at the gate, and you would just round this number up. So what I want to have is at least 5.7 tons of fuel for our flight to Luton. So I guess we can apply our load here. Instant loading. Okay, so let's check the fuel. No, it's not it. Oh yeah, here. Hit SimBrief, and now I can see all the weights, and now I can adjust the fuel, or basically any of those numbers as I wish. So now hit apply load, instant. There we go, 5.7 tons. Now we are already fueled. After fueling, you can switch on the APU. So I guess you hit this to on, wait a little bit, and then press the start switch. Meanwhile, we can do our flows. I'm just gonna do it like in the Boeing. You start at the top left and work yourself down. So IRSs into nav. It's also free IRSs like in the 757. So no lights here, so I'm not going to touch it. GPWS, it says fault. It probably, yeah. Just gonna leave it like this, otherwise it's turned off, which it shouldn't be. All these switches seem to be fine. Guess you can check the engine fire warnings and the APU fire warning. I'm not sure if you have to test this one. In the 757 you don't. The 757 basically tests the fire detection system by itself after you powered it up, and in case of a failure of the system, the 757 would give you a ICAS message and tell you that the system doesn't work, and then you automatically know that you have to fix it and call maintenance. So fuel pumps, gonna turn them on. No white lights. Okay, let's see here. Battery above 28 volts, that's good. Generators are not working, so you got the fault light. And here the packs are fault because I guess the APU is not powered up yet. Later on we need the APU bleed. Like I said, I don't know the procedure. Maybe you can already turn it on. I don't know about that. Okay, these are all the lights. We got the seat belts. We can put them to auto. No smoking to auto. Arm the emergency exit lights. Yeah, this seems to be set correctly. No lights up here. Looking good. And I think that as soon as you hit start of the APU, this page should pop open, which it didn't. So I guess the simulation is not 100% accurate, but I guess it's doing a pretty decent job, because after all, this is included in the Microsoft Flight Simulator for free. So that is not too bad. So you can check APU is available, and the generator is producing 400 Hertz, which is standard, 116 volts. And the bleed valve is closed, so 0 psi for the bleed pressure, but it's 100% up to speed. And I guess this is the flap for the air intake. EGT temperature, perfect. Let's hit this page here, and I guess if we open the bleed air like this, the packs, they start working. Yeah, there we go, the fault light is off. And now we got bleed air, and the cabin can cool down. Like, perfect, that's how we want it. So status, no messages, and here we can see the doors. Alright, so we're waiting for the IRSs. In the meantime, we can set up the FMC and scan through the rest of the cockpit. So, like I said, in the Boeing, you would start over here and check that all your instruments and lights are set accordingly. We got a master caution. I don't know why, actually. I'm gonna cancel it. And it should be standard day. We're gonna check the weather later, but I think I have set it to standard. Flight directors on. In the ARC mode, put the constraints up. You can toggle your ADF and VORs on here. Speed, we're gonna set it later. And initial altitude will be flight level 100 initially. And the FO would do his side. Can come down here. Okay. So this is not working as of right now. Alright, we can see here, fuel on board, seat belts, no smoking, IRS align in 4 minutes, so it gives you the time. In the 757, the time is indicated on the IRS panel up here, and you have a little display, and you can toggle it to heading, and then it shows you the remaining time. But the Airbus is definitely more modern, and it gives you here on the display. So parking brake, TCAS standby, and APU bleed. Looking good. These are all looking good. And of course you can dial in your frequencies here, and then you hit the switch where you wanna be transmitting on, which is the VHF left in most cases. And yeah, you just hit these switches and you can monitor other frequencies. Okay, predictive wind shear warning is off, and I guess I'm gonna leave this off for now. Speed brakes retracted, flaps are 0, rudder trim 0, parking brake is set, and the transponder, it should be in standby, and we're gonna set it to above. Perfect. Looking good. Okay, we're coming to the fun part. It's the FMC, and this is completely different than a Boeing FMC. The logic behind it is completely different. So the first time playing with the FMC as a Boeing pilot is really weird, and I had to watch a video to be able to figure out how to set up the route. So I'm giving it here my best shot. So you can see some kind of message, nav accuracy downgraded, and the aircraft position invalid. I guess we have to align and set up the position like in any other aircraft. Okay, weight's cleared, whatever. So we go to FMCG. Takes a while so you can see our engines. So the LEAP 1 Alpha 26, and our database is valid until 4th of September. Perfect. So yeah, there we start. So here our initialization page. So I don't know if we can get a init request. Yes, so you can see Paris to Luton. Also here, Paris to Luton with our alternate airport, and the registration cost index 53, which is in accordance to the flight plan, cruising at 240 minus 32 degrees. That is looking good. And the block fuel, I guess this is what we can enter. For the zero fuel weight, you would wait until you have your final loading papers, load sheet available. Alright. So the Boeing basically guides you through the whole FMC setup, and here in the Airbus it seems like I have to search for different pages. Most likely I'm just doing it wrong, but I guess we completed the init page as far as the zero fuel weight, and then we can check all the other pages. So yeah, here you can see again zero fuel weight missing. So let's proceed to our flight plan. So Paris, and it automatically downloaded this from SimBrief. So I'm gonna cross check the waypoints. So it's Paris, Opale, then we're going to Kesax, Kunaf, Banwa, Okay. Oh yeah, this is how you scroll. Banwa Andak. And then already in Luton. And I guess for... Yeah, this is totally weird with the arrows up and down. Like completely different from Boeing logic. You have like left and right, up and down. So it needs some getting used to it. So we hit departure and we expect to depart 26 right. And our planned departure is the Opale 5 Echo. Okay, go up. Yeah, Opale 5 Echo. There we have it. You hit insert. There we go, 26 right with all the waypoints. Gonna cross check this later. And then scroll up or down, whatever, to Luton. No, this is already the alternate destination. Oh, arrival here. Here we go. Yeah. So ILS 25 and the Andak 1 November. There we have it. Andak 1 November. No transition. Let's insert this for now. Okay, there we go. We have the flight plan. We also have a fuel prediction page. Yeah, secondary flight plan. You could copy the active and create a secondary flight plan. I'm not going to do this. Well, I guess loading is completed. And external power is still on. I guess we can disconnect it. Now we have the APU powering the electricity. Now we come to the ground connections, and I'm just gonna hit close all so we can get ready here in a minute. So we got the fuel, we got the people on board, and you can see we already consumed 20 kilos of fuel due to the APU, and it's kind of nice. Like the 757, 767, it would only tell you we have 5.7 tons in the fuel tank, but the Airbus gives you the fuel more accurately within 20 kilograms. Most likely because it's consuming way less fuel than the 757, especially during cruise. Those new engines here, the LEAP engines, they are pretty fuel sufficient compared to the powerful and old but beautiful RB211 engines you have on the 757. Alright, so let's try this again. So performance. Okay, yeah, I have definitely no idea what I'm doing. This is for later. So I guess this is the page what we're looking for. So the sim makes it easy. You just click it and it will paste the weights and everything in here. Also giving you the taxi fuel, and I can cross-check it here with the flight plan just for reference. But yeah, taxi fuel should be 230 tons. 230 kilograms. Trip fuel. Yeah, this is accurate. So trip fuel should be 2.2, around 52 minutes. Flight plan says 56. So yeah, and I guess you could manipulate these numbers, but I'm not sure about that. So I guess as of right now, it's indicating to us that we have 11 minutes of fuel extra upon our arrival. Here we can see takeoff weight 61.9, and let's cross check it. Yes, so we are around 200 kilograms more than expected, since we're still at the gate, and I decided to take a little bit more fuel, like 180 kilograms, something like that. So it makes sense. Landing weight is also way below the maximum allowed, which is 66.3, indicated here on my flight plan. Perfect. I guess now we can come here and figure out how to set up the performance here in this FMC. So we have a tool here in our EFB to calculate our takeoff performance and speeds. So in the Boeing we use OPT, excuse me, for onboard performance tool, and I'm pretty sure Airbus has a similar one. And yeah, basically it's gonna tell you how much takeoff distance you're gonna need, how much extra distance you have as a safety margin, and basically what you're looking for is all your distance. How long does it take to lift off? How long would it take until you came to a full stop after rejecting the takeoff at the worst possible time, which is V1. And that is basically what you're looking for, because you have to make sure, obviously, that those distances are within the available runway length. Otherwise, you have to offload some passengers, weight, cargo, whatever it might be. Okay, the weight for takeoff should be 61.8. Air condition on, anti-ice off, force toga no. And let's see what it will come up. There we go. Flex 58, V1 148, 148, 150. And the CG. And this is for the trim. I'm not sure what THS stands for. Some Airbus term, I guess. But yeah. So those speeds are actually really high compared to the 757. Like in the 757, if we were the same weight as the Airbus is today, most likely our speeds would be like 128. So yeah, that is interesting for me to see. So let's come over here and uplink takeoff data. No, that doesn't work. So 148, 148, and 150, 150 for V2. That is what I would set up here on the MCP, but I guess this is managed speed, so you don't have to set this in the Airbus. And then we have a configuration 1, so 1 plus F. So flaps, so I guess you put it in like this, 1 slash, and then you use 0.4 up, 0.4 up. Let's see if he will take this. Flex temp 58. Alright, there we go. Our clean speed is 209. Slat retraction speed 188. And I guess you could retract the flaps at 145 or whatever that means. Yeah, the Airbus guy is probably gonna be laughing at me because I'm doing such a horrible job of setting up the whole aircraft here. But yeah, so we got the speeds, we got a transition altitude 5,000 feet, which is standard for Paris, and then we have our thrust reduction, acceleration altitude 1850, engine out 1850. So this is company specific. I guess we could overwrite this if we wanted to reduce our power at 1000 and accelerate at 3000. We could set it up like this, and the engine out acceleration, I don't know, in the Boeing tool it would give us this number. Here in the sim I didn't see it, so let's just take something like 1100, something like that. Alright, climb, manage, cost index, and yeah, you can see the speeds, and I guess we can manipulate them later on. Okay, so I hit the flight plan here, and performance is what I want to see here. We have the doors all closed, engines obviously are shut down, seatbelts, nose parking brake, TCAS standby, and APU bleed. Cool. Alright, here we are in Paris, sitting at the gate, and we should be ready now for pushback. I had to reset my sim several times because the pushback tool didn't work at all, so now we are trying it with the standard pushback here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. But as you can see, doors are all closed, APU is running, we got the bleed air on, and I put the beacon on, so now we are ready to go. And yeah, I guess we can set this to auto. Of course you would have your squawk code. Yeah, doesn't really work. Alright, so let's try to get this thing pushed. So let's contact ATC. Where is it? Here. ATC. And we need ground. I guess they want clearance first. Ground service. Here, ground. And fuel, power, baggage, catering, no pushback. Alright. So, clearance. Let's acknowledge it. Yeah, request pushback, there we go, finally, and it is moving. As soon as he's connected and inserted a pin, we would pressurize hydraulics in the Boeing. I guess here in the Airbus it works different. The hydraulics, they seem to be fully automatic. Maybe some Airbus pilot could explain the system. That would be very, very interesting. Alright. Let's check on the outside. Yeah, it looks like that he is connected to our airplane. Wonderful. Beacon lights turning, blinking. Alright, request pushback, and I guess to the left, so there's parking brake, and he's pushing us. Let's go straight. And while pushing, we can start our engines, so put this to start, and it's all automatic. Just monitor. There we go. N2 is rising up, and we're waiting for the fuel flow, and we monitor EGT, that the EGT does not reach the red bar or approach it quickly. Maybe a little bit to the left. Alright. So there we go. At like around 30, 31, we got some fuel flow. The EGT is rising up. And let's stop our pushback here. Let's set the parking brake. Okay, cab pushback, cab is driving away. And it looks like it says available. Looks like the engine runs smoothly, so we can start the left engine. So let's just hit this to run. There we go. N2 is spooling up, waiting for the N1 and the fuel flow. Now we got some N1 rotation and the fuel flow should come in here any second. There we go. Fuel flow, EGT rising up. Just monitoring. Oil pressure is in the green now. And the avail message is here. Perfect. So I guess engine temperature, or I guess this is the oil temperature, it's a little bit cold at the time, so I don't know the Airbus limits or the LEAP engine limits, but in the Boeing, if you would have 0 degrees, you would have to wait until it increases before you can advance the throttles. Okay, then I would do the after start flow. Let's see how this works in the Airbus. So turn the APU off. The APU bleed off, and all lights are off, and as soon as the pushback driver is gone, we can set our flaps to 1, arm the speed brakes, and we have to put the auto brakes to max, and set our trim so it's 0.4 up, so I guess something like this, and the predictive wind shear warning system, you can turn it to 1. Alright, there we go. Flaps are coming out. Yeah, it says takeoff config test. And this, I never got this to disappear. I guess you test the takeoff config when you push the throttles full forward, but I'm not sure. So yeah, I guess we're stuck with this message for now. If we receive taxi clearance, put the lights, taxi light to taxi, I guess, and you could turn the runway turn-off lights on, especially when it's dark. You don't have to. And yeah, seat belts, let's just put them to on. Alright, there we go. I guess we're ready to taxi. Runway 26 right. And release the parking brake. There we go. And clear right. Clear left. And we can get moving. Let's do the flight control check. So we go in here, go to flight controls, and then we just go full left, full right, neutral, full up, full down, and neutral. And the rudder, we should be able to test it if you hold here, and then you should be able, okay, full left, full right. All right, we check the rudder. All right, flight controls are checked. There we go. We already see taxiway Romeo. That is where we want to be, and we taxi via Romeo to runway 26 right. That is pretty standard in Paris. So around corners, I want to be below 10 knots, and you can see the ground speed here on my ND navigational display. And it's not turning, so I have to adjust my settings. All right, give me a second, guys. I will be back in a second. Okay, I guess there we go. We were still disconnected from the tiller. Usually it's a switch you hold and it releases itself. Okay, here, very sensitive with the power and the taxiing, and now we're already almost at 0 speed again. Alright, so we are on Romeo. That is looking good. Okay, now it says takeoff config normal. Perfect. That's the first time I actually see that. So, and let's put it to all weather. It's not much terrain on our way from Paris to Luton, so I would put the weather radar on, because like I said, there are no mountains. It's pretty flat everywhere. So you would focus on the weather radar. Today it's just broken clouds, but you never know, especially if you fly passengers. You want to give them the highest comfort, of course. And then you would be monitoring for any kind of yellow and red. Okay, he's in the middle of our taxiway. Wonderful. Yeah, he was not stopping for us. Alright, so for the takeoff review, so we'll be climb power at 1,000 feet. We will accelerate the aircraft at 3,000 feet, and we got the speeds 148, 150 for the V2. Engine failure would be straight ahead, climb above MSA, which is 2,500, so climbing at least 3,000 feet. Straight ahead, we can come back here to Paris. Weather is good, runways are long enough, and there's no special restriction for our SID. We would climb flight level 100 initially, and there would be an airborne frequency 124355, but we're not gonna bother with that today. Yeah, like I said, no speed restrictions, and left-hand seat takeoff. And if the other guy has no questions, we would do the before takeoff checklist. So I guess Romeo Tango 1-2 we can turn into here. Okay, I'm just gonna take the next intersection for our lineup point. Usually you get Tango 12 in Paris, all depending on traffic and if you need the whole runway or if you can accept a intersection. Like with a heavy wide body, if you're really heavy, maybe you would have to take the whole runway and go via Romeo 1 full length. Not today though. You would have to put this into your takeoff calculation. You can, in the real performance app, you would tell the app that you're departing from intersection Tango 12, for example, and it will give you the speeds for that intersection. And yeah, here we go. So runway 26 right, that's what you want to see. You can see the white markings for the runway. DFO would put the landing lights on and the transponder to TARA as soon as we get clearance for lineup. And we can see the white numbers printed on the surface. That is good. You always want to double check that you are on the correct runway. There we go, 26 right. Center it. We would be ready for takeoff. So I'm just gonna set the parking brake here. Put my chart up for our departure. There we go. And put the lights to on. This is to take off. Put the strobes to auto. Put this to TARA. There we go. Alright. So as soon as we got clearance from the tower, release the parking brake. Here we are. And I guess I totally forgot to put this to normal now. Because in the Boeing it springs back to auto after start. Okay, so there we go. I will spool up the engines, make sure that they are driving up equally, around 40%, something like that, and it looks stable. So we can go to, where is it? Yeah, we're in flex with the SRS, etc. Yeah, 100 knots. About to reach V1, hands off the throttle, and we can rotate the aircraft, pitch it up slowly into the flight director, positive rate, gear up. Okay, not that much pitch. It's not a 757, I guess. And now we just follow the flight directors. And I'm monitoring also my radio altitude, 1,000 feet. I guess we can go to climb power. And at 3,000 feet we're going to accelerate to clean up the aircraft. So there we go, climb thrust and climb, I see. And it wants me to pitch down already. We're not at 3,000 feet yet, but yeah. And you can see a S on the left side of my PFD. I guess this is our slat retraction speed. So we could go to flaps up. Okay, and it says TCAS standby on the ICAS. That's weird. I thought I put it to auto. Alright, there we go. Green dot speed, and I will put the autopilot 1 on. There we go. Autopilot 1 is engaged. And let's just climb all the way up to our cleared altitude 240. There we go. Let's try to fix this problem. It should be in auto, right? TCAS standby. It makes no sense. Oh, it's an off. Excellent. Okay, what is he yapping about now? Overspeed. Okay. That is interesting, isn't it? Flaps are still out. Slats are still out. Alright, this is working perfectly, isn't it? So there we go. Now we're back in the climb detent. And yeah, I guess it didn't retract the flaps and the slats all the way. So I had something set up incorrectly. There we go, we're climbing out. Yeah, clouds all broken, nothing too serious. About to approach 10,000 feet. And I guess we can put this to standard since we're cleared to a flight level. Yeah, flight level 100, so we can take landing lights off, taxi lights off, and the turn off lights can go off as well. Yeah, this is now all in managed mode, so the speed, which is like 308 knots or something, is all according to the FMC. The heading is, I guess, what these dashed lines mean. For a Boeing, this would be an LNAV, I guess, because it says nav. So we're not in heading mode, obviously, so we're gonna follow our green line here. And yeah, we can see we are in active mode is managed climb, and our climb speed is 307 Mach 78. Perfect. There we go. I guess this blue arrow indicates our top of climb. In the Boeing it would show you a T/C for top of climb. Alright, there we are climbing out. Let's get some wing views here. Doesn't look too bad, I guess, with the wing light. Alright, and we're passing flight level 192, climbing 240, and we are still on nav, so tracking along, and I guess it's pretty calm, so we can put the seat belts off. So fuel is roughly 4.8, the ground spoilers are still armed. There we go. And okay, it says landing light. Oh yeah, you have to retract them. There we go, yeah. So as you can see, I'm totally not used to the Airbus. It's completely different than a Boeing. Like the philosophy and the whole principle, how the cockpit works and the systems, it's very different. Makes it hard if you have no idea. Okay, here we go. So our final reserve plus alternate fuel is 2.7 tons. So upon arrival, we want to have more than 2.7 tons when we come into Luton. Alright, let's check this. This is for the cruise. Cruise with Mach 0.75. For the descent, we descend with 0.78 and 329 knots. And there we go. We can put our weather data from Luton in here. It's a standard day, but I guess you could request a ATIS. Yeah, not with this menu, but let's check it out. No. Has to be somewhere. Oh yeah, here it would be. So it's not working. So digital ATIS. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not working. So we're at Alt Cruise. I guess this means that we're at our pre-planned cruising flight level of 240, and now we're accelerating to our planned cruise Mach number, which is 0.75. So this will go up to 0.75. Basically the magenta triangle, and yeah, you can see it's about at 0.75. Perfect. So we can start with our descent preparations for the ILS in Luton 25. So it's all standard 1013. It's around 15 degrees. And we don't have any wind. Transition altitude is 6,000 feet. There we go. And we're going to land with flaps full, and our barrow minimums for the Cat 1 are 710. There we go. ILS 25, barrow 710. No radio because we do not fly a automatic landing. So auto land Cat 2, Cat 3 would be referenced to radio altitude. We're not going to do that. And you can see our speeds here, clean speed, slats, flaps. I'm not sure if this is our flaps full speed, but I guess this here is our landing speed. So 124 plus 5 knots for the wind additive. Even though we don't have any wind today, you always want to be 5 knots above your VREF, as we would call it in the Boeing. It's always a safety margin of at least 5 knots or half the wind speed plus gust factor. That is very important. Okay. And I'm assuming this arrow here indicates our planned top of descent. Yeah, I have the UNDAC 1 November. This is usually what they give you, but I never flown the whole thing. You always end up getting vectors into Luton. So most of the time they will give you a direct Mayfield and maybe then a direct Brooksman Park, and from there on latest you will get vectors inbound to runway 25. So that is what I'm expecting. And so this means basically that I will vector us in ourselves. And yeah, I don't have a landing performance calculation tool. This only works for the takeoff, unfortunately. The runway in Luton is not the longest. It's also not the shortest. It's roughly 6,800 feet long. I really don't have any clue about the performance of the Airbus. I'm just gonna stick with auto brakes medium, and if I see that we will use up too much distance, I will kick off the auto brakes and brake manually. So for our descent planning, we're at 240 multiplied by 3, so 60 plus 12, 72, and we want to slow down the aircraft, so let's call it 82 miles conservatively from Luton, where I want to begin my descent. You can also see here our optimum flight levels, and because we're pretty light today, we could fly all the way up to flight level 395. Of course, we're not doing this because our flight is pretty short, so we're sticking to 240. And here you can also see our required RMP, which is 2 nautical miles deviation, and our current accuracy, which is 0.0203 nautical miles, so all looking good. We can check the ILS frequency, which is India Lima Juliet 10915, final approach course 253. Yeah, my chart says 254. Close enough, and these are the auto-tuned VORs as of right now. We don't need them, no NDBs required. There's a Luton NDB, but this one is not working most of the time, so let me see if I can put this in. So it's Lima Uniform Tango 345, yeah. Alright. Cool. So we got that. And 120 miles roughly to the airport. And it also indicates ILS 25 up here. Very interesting. Okay. Minimums you can see up here. Barrow 710. We're on autopilot 1 with the auto throttles. And all the modes are managed at the time. So it's equaling to LNAV, VNAV in the Boeing aircraft. Alright, if they would tell us direct Mayfield, they have a direct to key here, so I guess we go direct Mayfield. There we go, and we are turning direct to Mayfield. And now this arrow again indicates our top of descent, T/G for the Boeing guys, and we can see our constraints. Mayfield flight level 200, which is in accordance to my approach chart or arrival chart for the UNDAC 1 November. So I guess we can turn it down to flight level 200, and I'm assuming that the airplane will descend automatically and level off flight level 200 to reach it by Mayfield, due to the constraints inserted into the FMC. Another thing you want to check during the flight, of course, is the fuel. And it says at Luton, this is our expected arrival time, estimated fuel on board is 3.3 tons. And we talked about this earlier. Our final reserves plus alternate fuel is 2.7, so it gives us a margin of 600 kilograms. So we are looking good. Yeah, here it says extra 400 kilograms, 15 minutes. I'm not exactly sure what the reference to this number is, but this number here gives us 600 kilograms extra on top of our final reserve plus alternate fuel. And that is the number I want to know. Alright, we should descend here anytime soon. I will give you a briefing for the ILS 25 in Luton. So, like I said, ILS 25 in Luton, final approach course is 254, and we are starting our descent from our final approach point at 3,000 feet. It's 7.7 miles from the runway. Down to our minimum set 710. Auto brakes are medium at the time. We checked the frequency 109.15. Highest MSA is 2,200. For the BIST approach, it's straight ahead, then 2.3 miles. After India Lima Juliet, or minimum 1,500 feet, whichever is later, we do a left turn heading 088 and we're climbing to 3,000 feet. Landing configuration is flaps full. And of course we want to be stable by 1,000 feet. After landing, we will vacate to the right and taxi back to our gate. No specials for this approach. So let's see if the airplane will descend down to flight level 200 and as soon as we reach our top of descent. Okay, check destination data. I really don't know what that means. But I guess we should descend here in the next few seconds. I really don't know what T minus P delta means, but here we go. Top of descent. And I guess we have passed it. So, waiting for the airplane to descend. And it doesn't do anything, of course. Okay, you have to click it like in the Boeing. Alright, so now we are throttle idle, open descent. And I'm just gonna turn this down to flight level 100. Okay, that is how it works. It says top of descent reached. So it will not descend automatically. The Boeing would, if the Boeing is in the VNAV mode and it reaches its top of descent and you turn down the altitude, it will start to descend on its own. So I guess the Airbus doesn't, at least not here in this simulation. So we have passed Mayfield. We should have been at flight level 200. And I guess this blue arrow indicates the spot where we are going to be at flight level 100. So let me try to get this into heading select. Okay, so there we go. We are in heading mode, and now I steer the aircraft with the heading selector. And now it is just descending. I'm not sure how I could manipulate the descent rate. In the Boeing, it would go to throttle hold, so I could manipulate the throttles and the power, which would affect our descent rate. So if I adjust the power, push it forward a little bit, our descent rate would reduce. But the only option here for me is, I guess I can use vertical speed, but right now it's just idling down, holding our speed, and descending to flight level 100. So can we do a extended center line? Fit me. Radial in should be 2, 4, 5, 4. Okay, is this correct? Let me check. Yeah, I guess this could work. Okay, it's back in nav. Okay, that is interesting. No, I want to be back in heading mode. And it's already reducing my speed to the approach speed. Interesting. So now I am manipulating my speed on my own, and I am in heading mode. Wow, okay, yeah, this is so different from the Boeing. Like I said, I don't know anything about the Airbus, and as you can see, I'm doing a terrible job of controlling the airplane with the MCP here. So let's just go down to 5,000 feet, and I'm trying to vector us in here. So 5,000 feet, we can switch to our local altimeter setting. If he lets me, come on. No. There we go, 1013 and 5,000 feet, and we're about to pass 10,000 feet. Adjusting my heading here. And I guess we should slow it down to 250. And it seems to be going, oh yeah, it's leveling up, but we don't make the speed restriction at flight level 100 here. Let's take some speed brakes. We can turn the lights on. So fit me is 3 miles from our final approach point. So fit me, we should be highest 4,000 feet. And I really want to slow the airplane down when we're coming into fit me. So we can set 3,000 feet, which is above the MSA. Yeah, speed limit exceeded. Destination estimated fuel on board below minimum. I doubt that. So 3.8 as of right now. We got 1.1 tons to go, and we're almost like 25 miles to the airport. But yeah, it says 2.6 estimated fuel for runway 25. I don't know how he calculates this, probably because I did something wrong with the extended center line here. Can we take fit me again? Maybe if we do the reverse radial, so 074. Okay, yeah. Okay, this is how it works in the Airbus. You have to use the reverse radial, but now we are back again in nav mode. Okay, and I guess we can slow a little bit down. I'm not sure what this means. Maybe it's some speed restriction. So this works similar to flight level change. When I adjust my speed here, it is pitching for the speed. So because I am reducing the speed, it is pitching up to lose airspeed, and that is why our descent rate, of course, will reduce. You can see it here with this blue arrow, and the Boeing, it is our green banana. Alright, so we got 10 miles to fit me. I guess I'm gonna use some vertical speed here. No, not that much. Something like this. Alright, is this active? Doesn't say vertical speed. I guess I have to push it. Now we are in speed, vertical speed. There we go. Now the next thing I have to figure out is how to intercept the localizer. I can see localizer here and approach mode here. Let's see if it will intercept our extended center line. So 7.5 miles, and we're at the 90-degree angle. Descent rate, everything looking good. Speed 220. And I guess the Airbus loses speed quicker than the Boeing 757, because the 757 is a very slick airplane, especially with winglets, tailwind, and engine anti-ice on. And it is really hard to get the airplane to slow down. Adjusting my descent rate here. Yeah, this should play out about right. So 5 miles. I guess I can already turn like 330. We're still like 6 miles from our descent point. Yeah, we got time to go down. This is still a long ways. So I'm giving ourselves here a intercept heading. Gonna arm the localizer so it's in blue, and as soon as it's green, then we know we are established on the localizer. So this is our final descent point. There we go, lock star. We are on the localizer. We can hit the approach mode, and it says cat free single, and the ILS is blinking for some reason. Okie dokie. I'm going to 210 knots. I guess we have to press the LS for landing system. So now it seems we are on the localizer and we have the glide slope armed. Yeah, we can see we're tracking on the localizer and we are still below the glide slope. And we got 11 miles, so I will go with flaps 1. So I will put the speed to like 190. Sleds are coming out. I cannot see the runway yet. There's our glide slope coming in. Approaching our sled speed. And I guess I go to the next flap setting. Flaps 2. Glide slope intercept. There we go. We got 8 miles to the runway. Just further reduce our speed. Glide slope again. We set our missed approach altitude 3,000 feet. We just heard 2,500. That is where I would put the gear down in the Boeing. Don't know about the Airbus. Yeah, it doesn't slow down with flaps 2. So I'm just going gear down. Speed 150. Let's see, our flaps speed 177. Okay, we are below that. Let's go flaps 3. And flaps full for our final landing speed, which is 128 now. If we are clear to land, runway turn off, taxi light. Yeah, should have put the seatbelt back on. And I guess we have to arm the speed brakes. Cabin check, yeah. Okay, so approach speed 128. That is what I have set up here. And we are visual to the runway. About to reach 1,000 feet. And we are stable on speed on the glide slope on the localizer. All looking good.
1,000.
There we go. Call of 1,000 feet. And okay, we got actually 4 knots on our nose. And it's indicating 3 white lights, 1 red light. Should be 2 whites, 2 reds, but we are on the glide slope. And I will just try to fly it manually here. There we go, manual flight. And I will focus on the puppies now. And we should be still in auto thrust. Yeah, it's yelling glide slope, so it's the glide slope doesn't seem to get along with the puppies here for whatever reasons, but now I'm following the puppies because I want to be in the touchdown zone.
50, 40, 30, 20, retard, 10, 5.
Alright, there we go. Touchdown, rollout. And the reverses, yeah, they don't work. Alright. 80 knots, I'm going to manual braking. We have made it to the ground here in Luton. Let me slow down the aircraft. There we go. Come to a taxi speed. And we can turn off here. So no action on the runway, you don't touch the spoilers, flaps or anything, you just make sure that you get off the runway as fast as possible, of course, for any traffic that is behind you. Okay, you can see the markings here. So we're at Taxiway Hotel. Just want to get off here. Okay, now we're in reverse apparently. Fantastic. Okay, we're about to clear the runway environment. Yeah, it looks definitely a little bit different than in real life. This would be a parking garage, and in front of the parking garage there are parking stands for the airplanes, so it's pretty interesting. You see a lot of people there, usually standing around, looking at the airplanes. And now I want to turn into Alpha here. There should be a... Yeah, this is not very accurate. Alright, yeah. So the scenery for Luton is really bad. Maybe there's an add-on which I can get for our next flight. Alright, and we are clear of the runway. So I guess we can start the APU. We can put the strobes off. We can retract the landing lights, taxi to taxi, and oops, I'm going into the ground here. Put the transponder back to standby. And we put the flaps up. Speed brakes. Weather radar. Predictive windshield warning system off, and turn those things off. All right, and then we can turn into here. I don't know if you would turn this off in the Airbus. This probably also depends on company policy. Everybody does it a little bit different. Every company has its own philosophy. There's of course always guidance from Boeing or Airbus on how to do things. So basically Boeing and Airbus comes up with their own kind of procedures, and then the airlines decide if they want to take them. Most of the times they come with their own stuff and they combine it with the Airbus Boeing procedures. So you end up with a lot of different procedures if you would compare it airline by airline. Everyone has their own little game. Of course, a lot of things are pretty similar. So yeah, every time you switch a company, you basically have to adjust yourself to the new procedures and basically forget everything or all the procedures you learned before. Okay, we can shut down the left engine. This would obviously be confirmed by the other colleague. So we're doing some single engine taxi. Let's put the APU up. It's not started yet because I probably forgot to hit start. And it's barely moving forward. Now we're doing 5 knots. So single engine taxi is no problem unless you're going into some really tight turns and some crazy uphill slopes. So on most airports, you can easily do a single engine taxi into the gate. On some airports, for some parking stands, it is recommended that you leave both on. Otherwise, you will blow everything away with one engine because you need so much power to do like a 180-degree turn or something like that. So for example, in Casablanca, there are some parking stands where you maneuver yourself in, and basically you do like a 180-degree turn or something like that. And you should definitely don't turn off your second engine, because it gets really loud and complicated doing this with one engine. Alright, trying to go here for the yellow line. And in real life you have a better visual understanding of where to turn. So there we go. Alright, I'm gonna set the parking brake. So we got a master caution for, I don't know what. So G for green, I guess, system low pressure. I guess the Airbus also has a PTU, which transfers the hydraulic power in case you shut down one engine. So I don't know, maybe some of the Airbus guys could explain if this message here is accurate or what is going on. And you can see our fuel is 3.4 even at the gate, so we're well above our minimum required. All right, so there we go. We got the APU available. We can shut down the right engine. Of course, you would turn off all the lights when turning into the gate. Logo lights you leave on. Put the seat belts to off. Get some air so the passengers feel comfortable. And I guess that is it for now. All right. Then they could open the doors. Loading config. Let's get the GPU, the chocks. Okay. All right, there we go. We made it to the gate. I hope you enjoyed it. We can, of course, we can turn down the IRSs. Put this to ground power. Take the APU off. With the bleed off. I guess you take this one off. And put the emergency exit lights to off. Fuel pumps off. Alright, I will get the door page up. There we go. Transponder. Oops. To off. Alrighty. There we are. Almost on the yellow line with ground power. Yeah, no jetway. But we made it here to Luton with our beautiful A320neo with the Wizz Air livery, and I hope you enjoyed this video of how I tried to fly the Airbus A320. I know it was a wild ride, but you can see it makes a huge difference between Boeing and Airbus, especially if you know how to fly a Boeing and if you don't have any idea about how to fly an Airbus. You can see it gets pretty difficult, and that is why you have to do a type rating for every airplane model basically. But yeah, I hope you enjoy. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me in the comments what you want to see next. See you around. Goodbye, everybody.